Chairman, the individual in our queue is Mr. Bruce Paterson.
Okay, Mr. Patterson, you have an opportunity to address the board, please.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Dr. Garrettson, wherever she may be at this moment, of the Commissioner Board. This is Bruce Paterson, Garwood, New Jersey. And actually, I was watching you commissioners while Maria Echeverria's letter was read, and you know, you should be embarrassed. You guys, not all of you, but some of you are smirking. Hudak was actually laughing. It was terrible. You guys should be listening to this. This is somebody else with maybe an opposing view to what your opinions are, and you guys are actually laughing and smirking, and I'm ashamed of you guys. With that said, also moving along, you introduced an ordinance 830. It wasn't on the agenda, yet you introduced it. Now, if it was an emergency ordinance, I could see the sudden introduction. But to tell you the truth, I think that was illegal, not being on the agenda. So I'd really like Council Bergen to explain why all of a sudden it showed up. As to the resolutions. Reso 425, this is a reso for an OEM grant of $110,000, which the county has to provide $55,000 of it as a match. No questions about the grant itself, but here's a grant where the county has to match up to 100%. This is all well and fine because the county is sitting on at least $80 million in free cash that the county hid away from the taxpayers. But when you make the towns match 50% monies to your own grants that you give out, note that they are not sitting on wads of cash, that their local levels of cash reserves are tight. So they have to raise taxes on their residents just to receive grants made of tax monies that they have already paid you in the first place. Please give it some thought about getting rid of these detrimental 50% match requirements. Resos 427, 430, 433, 435 through 439. These many resos total up to $10 million are for workforce assistance, rental assistance, vaccine grants, all appear to be related to the epidemic. Not needing details of these grants themselves, but the question is this $10 million already included in the budget, or are they now, of this date, added to both sides of the ledger, appropriations and expenditures? Reso 458. This is receiving nearly $500,000 for a grant for a victim witness advocacy program for 1 year. First, just a question. Who are the advocates receiving this $500,000? Plus, as a comment, I just want to point out that this grant has the county doing a 25% match. Suggestion, as I noted previously, think about reducing the local town's 50% match requirements on county grants to at least down to 25% match so that towns don't have to increase taxes on its residents just to get their own original money back from the county. Reso 461. This reso is for the Wiener Law Group, increasing the funding amount from $15,000 to a usurious amount of $85,000 for some vagaries called advice and guidance on various potential agreements. Please explain what these potential agreements are that are suddenly sucking up $85,000 of tax monies. It's interesting. I guess the one with the Building and Construction Trades Council, that was deleted, so I won't comment on that. General comments. So Lindsay Ruotolo, after 1.5 year tenure as acting Union County prosecutor, is being reassigned to the state level as director of the Juvenile Justice Division. In a short time as being county prosecutor, I had noted to the commissioners that she did not have the depth of experience needed for leadership of our prosecutor department. She more than likely got this position as a patronage job because her father was county prosecutor in the early 90s, and her mother was a Union County freeholder 20 years ago. This warning came true as many employees in the prosecutor's department came to a freeholder meeting in February 2020 to complain about her questionable practices. She also ended up as a defendant in 3 lawsuits. She had a bumpy tenure, surely trying during the pandemic year, but now she moves upward. The irony of this government's usual modus operandi is if someone does not work out, then promote. I thank those behind the scenes that listened to my grievances and acted on them. But regretfully, her legacy here will still live on in the county that we continue to fund those 3 lawsuits she was defendant in. But I now wish her well moving upward. So thank you very much.
Okay. We have something about matches. I know Mr. Patterson is not a fan of the match, but I don't think we need to dwell on that. We've heard him make those comments in the past, and I understand what he's saying, but we feel it's important to have the townships participate in some of the grants that we offer. I'm going to ask Director Taylor if she is still here. I think she is, to comment on those multiple of, I guess they were COVID-related, 427, 430 through 439. Director, if you could make any comments to that.
Absolutely, through you, Chairman. Resolutions 2021 432, 439 are modifying the 2021 budget in the total amount of $10,211,930.08. The grants, in fact, are modifying the 2021 adopted budget, and they are essentially bringing in the items as revenue and appropriating in the same amount on the general ledger.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Director. Prosecutor Ruotolo, I know that Mr. Patterson brought something up about 458. Do you have anything you want to add from that perspective?
Sure. Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity. This grant is a grant that we obtain on an annual basis from the federal government to cover direct victim witness services. Specifically, it covers the salary of 6 victim witness advocates. These are people who meet with the victims of violent crimes and walk them through the justice system, which can be very disconcerting to members of the public who are not familiar with the criminal justice system. It also covers the salaries of a program assistant, as well as 2 victim notification clerks. Victim notification clerks fulfill an important duty in that they notify, among other things, they notify the victims of violent crimes when the offender is about to be released, to make sure that protective orders are in place and restraining orders are abided by. In addition to covering salaries, it also covers direct victim services ranging from victim notification, referral services for victims of violent crimes, victim relocation services, emergency cell phones, food insecurity, transportation, and even everything down to emergency locksmith for individuals who previously resided with the offender. These services are instrumental to the work that we do and cannot be performed by the investigative and legal staff, who have to remain independent of the lives of the victims and the witnesses, but the advocates perform a critical role in providing these services to the residents of our county. And we appreciate this grant that does require a 25% match from the county. And we, of course, appreciate the county's support of these initiatives.
Okay, thank you, Madam Prosecutor. I appreciate that. County Counsel, can you speak to 461, please?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. This resolution is to provide funding for our specialized outside counsel who have been assisting the county since, I believe, November of last year or so in our programming for closing the jail and eliminating our Department of Correction. They are in particular advising us and dealing with the Civil Service Commission, the unions, to ensure that the plan that we put forth has been approved. Their help has been invaluable in making sure this whole process goes smoothly. And I would note that in light of the substantial amount of money that the county will be saving by this action, though it's a fair amount of legal fees, it's well worth it to make sure we've done this right. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Bergen, I think you explained that pretty well initially. Maybe Mr. Patterson didn't catch your initial comments on it, but I'm glad you reiterated what you said earlier this evening, so thank you for that. And Mr. Clerk, I want to make sure you note that Commissioner Garrettson is online and attending. Good afternoon.
Duly noted.
Commissioner, glad you're here. And before I go into anything else, I want to, mention Mr. Patterson's continued